Oh, this is a great video coming up of 7 exquisite European railroad stations that look like they could be palaces or castles. But before we get started, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel here. We explore interesting destinations around the world. And if you like what you see today, a like would be greatly appreciated. Well, as we all know, America is not known for beautiful railroad stations, but Europe, well across the Atlantic, there is an entirely different story, architectural story going on there. The designs of railway stations in Europe are works of art, in my opinion. Some look as though, as previously mentioned in the title, they could be castles or palaces. A good example is this picture right here of the Central Station in Amsterdam, built in 1889. If one did not know this was a railroad station, it could be easily taken for some royal dwelling, don't you think? Inside this rail station is a special pavilion, the Queen's waiting room, where her carriage could fit in the olden days, but nowadays there's room for her car. Revival Gothic Renaissance style, and in my opinion, an example of exquisite architecture from the 1800s. It is absolutely beautiful. Look at those details. Amazing. Oh, I just love looking at it. It's so pretty. Next we go to London, England. And there is the St. Pancras Station, and this is a real beauty. It's an architecturally elaborate building opened in 1868. One of its outstanding features is an iron roof arching across the interior, once the largest freestanding structure in the world. More interesting to me is the dramatic Gothic style. That's a hotel in the front of the building. Would you agree this masterpiece of Victorian architecture is one of the most elegant train stations in the world? Now this is another amazing piece of architectural artwork. This is the Antwerp Central Railway Station in Belgium. Another example of a beautifully designed railroad station. Constructed between 1895 and 1905, it was built at the special request of King Leopold II. Reportedly, the Belgian architect used the Pantheon in Rome as a source for his inspiration. Another magnificent building that really and truly does not look like a railroad station. Would you agree? I mean, look at all those architectural details. It's a real beauty. This building is something special too. Look at all the details and the colors that they've used, which is so unusual for ancient buildings, don't you think? This is Delft City Hall and Train Station in the Netherlands. Another magnificent building, in my opinion. This masterpiece was constructed in 1885. What a beauty. Again, this is looking more like a palace for royalty than it is a railway station. Today it is no longer used for trains, but instead it is the City Hall of Delft in the Netherlands. And it's a popular spot for weddings, and I can see why by looking at it. You could have a fairy tale wedding here, don't you think? Those late 19th century railroad architects produced some incredibly gorgeous buildings for the traveling public. This is one that is particularly eye-popping in my view. Wow. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Now here we have the Sao Bento train station in Porto, Portugal. Nothing could be more appropriate for a rail station in Portugal than to feature one of the country's oldest art forms, decorative ceramic tiles. The themes displayed in this tile artwork depict the history of transport in Portugal, its landscapes, and historic events. Over 20,000 tiles make up these magnificent murals. And guess what? It took the artist over 11 years to complete. Now that's a very, very long time. But what a beautiful contribution to this very, very pretty rail station. I mean, it's almost like walking into an art gallery. Wouldn't you agree? The building was completed in 1916 on the site of a 16th century Benedictine monastery. I wonder whether people standing and staring at these beautiful tiles might miss their planes. What do you think? I mean, miss their planes. I should have said miss their trains. What do you think? A short pause here. If you are enjoying this video, a like would be very much appreciated. If you enjoy international travel adventures, then come join my exclusive Facebook group, Second Half Travel Adventures. Come along and have some fun with us. The information is located in the description of this video. Okay, up next. Oh, goodness gracious. Look at this beautiful railroad station next to Lake Lucerne in Switzerland. We have the pleasure, of laying our eyes on Lucerne's old railway station, which opened in 1896. It was an impressive and imposing building that stood as a symbol of the city for 75 years. In 1971, the station was The station was partially destroyed by fire. The cupola collapsed. Lucerne lost an architectural gem. The entrance arch is all that remains of this gorgeous old station. Here is a picture of what it looked like when built, and this is a picture of all that remains today, and that is a magnificent arch with a lovely statue on top. Well, at least we're grateful that part of that beautiful ancient building survived. Leipzig Central Station in Germany. This central railroad station opened in 1915. Based on its floor space, this station remains the largest in Europe, and that includes London and Paris. This is another great example of very distinctive architecture. A brightly colored roof is amazing. I mean, that is sort of surprising for such an ancient building, don't you think? Usually they had dabs of colors, not big splashes of color like this one. The facade of this building is about 1,000 feet long, making this station a very striking piece of architecture. This concludes the tour of my favorite train stations in Europe, stations with distinctive and eye-catching architectural beauty. I hope you've enjoyed this tour, and if you have any other stations, railway stations, that you've had the pleasure of walking through in Europe, please let me know, because these are just a few of the magnificent ones that I was able to find. And as you all well know, train travel was absolutely one of the most important forms of transportation in the 19th century. And I'm telling you, these architects really did a masterful job creating some of the most gorgeous buildings anywhere in the world. And to think that they all are train stations is quite amazing. So anyway, if you have any suggestions for future videos you'd like to see, please leave a comment in the comment section. And most of all, remember this. This is a very important travel quote that I think about all the time. The only trip you will ever regret is the one you don't take. Well, my friends, truer words were never spoken. See you on our next trip, somewhere exciting, somewhere in the whole wide world, because travel rocks.